Hey, I'm Johnny, and I want to talk a little bit about the trouble in the world. Have you noticed there's trouble in the world? I have hope against the trouble because I participate in the church, because I follow Jesus, and Jesus came to overcome that trouble. It's hard to imagine that evil and that darkness and that trouble beyond the individuals that express it. But when we reduce those evils in the world to individual action, we start blaming each other and fighting each other, and this defensiveness that arises is very predictable. Yet we do it again and again and again. And I think that this is in large part because we're not seeing the world that clearly yet. We haven't agreed upon these evils, or more importantly, the greater good given to us by God. I started thinking about the problem this week when I was watching the country's reaction to two seemingly small things that turned out to be bigger, at least where I'm paying attention. Gillette, Procter & Gamble's company, had an ad about men behaving better, and the incident at the Lincoln Memorial with Nathan Phillips and the American Indian elder, and he was trying to quell a situation between young white teenagers and the notoriously annoying black Hebrew Israelites. And here you saw the evidence of the evil in the world and our inability to talk about it. You could see how polarized the world is. Social media specializes in deepening our polarization with reactions and so on. So this is not entirely unusual. But what we saw is that the truth about goodness and the truth about darkness in the world was just a matter of opinion and a matter of perspective. We weren't even disagreeing about interpretation of the events. We were disagreeing about what actually happened. This kind of problem seems almost insurmountable. And it's really hard to talk to each other in this polarized, loud environment. People are making their arguments, they're writing their columns, and they're hoping that they collect enough power so that they win the day. They win the election, they win the movement, they win the next generation over. But people are left behind when we do that. The result of this loud messaging can result in a changing world over generations, but it isn't personal, and it doesn't personally address this problem of evil that Jesus came to address. It may be what ends up happening, and I think it actually brings about some good end, but it doesn't fundamentally cure the disease. The whole world needs to change, and everyone in it. And Jesus in the world is both immanent and transcendent, personal and cosmic. As John, the writer of the gospel, put it, the Logos made the cosmos and entered into it. So it's not the end of the story. I think it's important. This is why Circle of Hope exists, to maintain personal relationships in order that we might influence one another to follow Jesus. What I'm seeing right now is a lack of dialogue and a lack of possibility of dialogue. Our deep polarization prevents so much because we're so automatically defensive, for one thing, and often have a fundamentally different view of the situation. It's not a ripe time for discipleship and community and relationship. That is to say, it's not an easy time to do that. We struggle when we talk to each other, to relate, to connect. You might struggle to talk to your roommate or your neighbor or your mom. We need new ways to build community and trust so that we can have truthful and loving conversations. And I guess we're back to where I wanted to begin, the church. The body of Christ is the best tool to change the world. And in Circle of Hope, our cells are the most intimate expression of the body. In them we relate, we agree, we act for world redemption and transformation. I think they can be a key to changing the world. And I am concerned about a changing world. I have two daughters who are entering a world that rewards toxic behavior and vilifies decent behavior. They're entering one where they're not taught to respect their elders, or even anybody. And they're being thrown right into the polarization. It affects me personally. I'm holding out hope, but I'm idealistic enough to keep leaning in on the church, on the community, on the relationships, on our cell system, to create a whole new world where truth isn't a matter of opinion and love isn't a matter of preference.